It is no secret that the pandemic really changed the way people think about work, the way they work, and what people are willing to do for their jobs.
So true. During the peak of lockdown, women lost jobs at a higher rate than men. Okay, scary. And while they've been, by and large, returned to work, they still have significant obstacles to face, like the gender pay gap and the fact that women often end up bearing the brunt of caregiving duties at home on top of all of that.
How many times have we been on the phone on the way home saying, we just put in all this full-time at work, I still gotta go to the grocery store, I still gotta walk the dog, I still gotta take someone to practice.
Monday was one of those days for us. I mean, I don't have children, but I came home to a different kind of a mess.
That's right, you have a partner. So for these reasons and so many others, we want to talk about the ways women can make work for them. And joining us now is Cate Luzio. She's the founder and CEO of Luminary, a global networking platform that is addressing systemic challenges working women face. Cate, it is so nice to finally meet you.
Hi.
I told Alex, we've known each other for 4 years. This is the first time we're meeting in person.
I love that I get to be here to witness it.
Because it happened right before the pandemic. So for decades, you killed the game. Worked in finance, worked for Fortune 500 companies, a titan of your industry, named in Fortune 500, named in absolutely everything. But the most impressive thing to me that you have done is all of these places, these financial institutions, you found the women and you made groups and you said, we really need to focus on what our work is here and how we can amplify one another's voices. And so now you're continuing that work. What were you observing then, and how has it changed?
You know, the funny thing is, I don't know if it's funny or not, or maybe it's a little sad, it's the same. I mean, I started my career in 1997 and then spent years in tech and then almost 20 years in finance. The things that we're seeing at Luminary over the last 4 years since we started to what I observed in finance and working with lots of different industries through my clients, it's the same. And so, yes, not to make it all negative, I mean, we have definitely progressed, and you're seeing more women that are rising the ranks and more women starting companies, but the challenges that exist are still very similar.
Wow. And what are those challenges?
I was just going to ask, please speak to those.
Yeah, I think the couple of things. Number one, women have smaller networks than men. It's just a fact, we do. So we've got to broaden those, make them more diverse, right? Absolutely, build them starting younger and earlier in our career. Two is self-advocacy. We're not great at talking about
being
ourselves.
Being our own cheerleaders,
We talk about everybody else.
If we are, I feel like it's perceived
seen as bragging.
Exactly.
But we like to say at Luminary, it's not bragging if it's based on facts.
That's right.
Okay.
Right? So build your business case, right? And bring context in. The third is really around, you know, the pay gap is still so wide. And so this idea of negotiating better for yourself, that goes along with self-advocacy, you know, and making sure you're getting the right compensation. And a lot of that comes from having the right dialogue with your manager. Right? You've got to have a good relationship with your manager. And if you don't, you know, you try. I say three strikes and you're out. You look within the company. If you love the company, you love the organization. If it's just not working out, you've got to make a decision for your career. Nobody cares about your career more than you do.
Right.
Well, one of the things I always say to you, to friends, to coworkers, if no one's going to advocate for you like you.
Absolutely.
Can we just go back to the pay gap for a second? Because I was speaking with one of our producers before the show, and I believe that women make 82 cents to the dollar.
White
compared
women.
to white women, and it's worse for women of color.
It goes down to, I think Latinas are the worst at like 55 cents to the dollar. It's really, because we get stuck on this 82 cents, which we should, right? But that's for white women. And then women of color, it's far worse. Black women, Latina, API, it is far worse. And so it's going to take a long time. But companies, my view, given my background, and we work at Luminary with 70+ global companies now, and thinking about how do you right the ship, right? A lot of that's benchmarking. Most companies do annual performance reviews, and that includes looking at salary and compensation. Okay, let's benchmark against your peers, which happen to be other genders, right? And so, but we can't do that alone, and I like to say, and Marisol, you know this, it's not just about the women, right? Luminary exists and it's to advance women, but we are gender inclusive because we can't do this without all of us.
You need allies.
Absolutely.
You need allies. It is a mystery to no one that the pandemic changed the way we work. So I can always tell, today I got on the train, couldn't find a seat.
Yeah.
Wednesdays, people are going back to work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A year ago, Wednesday was the day people stayed home. Even the train conductor said it. That is no mystery. What's interesting, when you were talking to our producers, you say proximity bias.
Yes.
Is an issue for women. What is that, and why is it an issue?
So this existed before the pandemic.
Right.
This is when you're not in that face-to-face, right? We remember the word FaceTime. I need FaceTime with my boss. So if you've been in a distributed workforce where you don't see your boss every day, there is a proximity bias. Like, I don't see you, so you're not the person that I'm calling on and likely promoting, giving new projects, giving opportunities. That's been exacerbated by the pandemic because you've got caregiving issue. There's still a lot of child care access issues. People, including women, people of color, are wanting to work more from home. They want that option, at least, and that flexibility. So that's creating that bigger level of bias of there are less women in the office. So I have this proximity bias where I'm not seen every day. So again, goes back to that manager conversation.
Right.
You've got to make the effort. I've got to be talking to you, Alex. If you're my manager and I don't see you every day, they've got to know you're here. You've got to be visible and what you're bringing to the table at all times.
Right. And I often encourage my colleagues and even my nieces who are going into the workforce. I say, your boss doesn't want to hear you complain.
Exactly.
Because your boss has, behind you, there's 72
800
other
more
people.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So take a really hard look at what you do for the organization and where you want to be and offer a solution.
Absolutely.
Be that may be the case. Your solution may not align with what your manager wants, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But at least you've put it on record and you've said, you know what, this is what I would like to move towards.
Right.
Yeah.
And then figure out like what the leapfrogging is.
Exactly, and you kind of were talking about this earlier, and you know, if that's the case, then you need to take that deep dive and almost say like, okay, was it worth it for me to be here? But if it's not, okay, you part ways. You got to step outside the comfort zone. You got to move on. Can't get complacent. But if it is worth it, you know, for women, I feel like in particular, it's no secret. It's talking about money is a taboo thing.
Absolutely.
But for women, it's even more of a struggle. For me personally, so going along with the pay gap. Negotiating salaries. Should you decide that, you know, this is the place for me, I would like to be here, but, you know, I'm worth more than what I'm getting paid.
What I'm currently getting.
What's coming into my checking account twice a month. What are some steps that women can take to advocate for themselves, to help negotiate, to go in there being the most powerful and confident and, you know, in a positive way, too. That's not going to be perceived as...
But also be smart. Here in New York State now, everyone knows what you
Pay
make.
transparency.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody knows what you make.
So number one, benchmark, right? Look at your role. One, within the company, are there other open roles that's similar to what you do? And look at the numbers, right? Now, likely they'll give a huge range. The second is benchmark against your role at other companies. What are they making? Go out there and start talking to people, right? You've got to do that. And number three is have the conversation, build your business case. That is like, my team knows this, like build your business case. You want more resources, you want more money, you want more responsibility, but tell me why. And the thing I say all the time, I said this for 20 years in banking as a manager, don't tell me what you need, tell me what you deserve and why.
Right.
You got to come with the receipts, too. Here's exhibit A, B, C, D, E, F, and G as to why you need to double my salary.
Absolutely.
And real quick before we go, talk to me about the allies, because I think that is something that we overlook. Everyone knows you can get a side hustle. Everyone knows there's pay transparency. But having an ally is like, it's like having a rabbi in the room.
Yes.
It's like it's the person who says, even when you're not there, you know what? Let's talk about Cate. Why don't we give Cate the job? You are a boss lady. How is it that you do that for the decision makers who may be watching the broadcast so that more women can make work for them?
So number one, there are still fewer women in leadership roles, right? So everybody tends to go to them, right? You need a diverse senior leadership team that you're talking to. So make it not just about the senior woman in your organization or, you know, in the management in the leadership office. You've got to have men.
Right.
Absolutely, and in particular white men, because they're still the larger population making decisions, and that's just the history, right? It's no fault of
part of
theirs.
the fabric. It is what it is. Yeah.
So you've got to have, again, goes back to that network, but a diverse group of mentors and sponsors that don't look like you, and make sure that they are your allies. and having those conversations. And by the way, ask them to have those conversations and to mention your name.
Alex Lee, she's a good egg. That's what I'm going to say next time.
There you go.
You march right up to the 10th floor and say that after the show.
Cate Luzio, thank you so much. I hope you will come back.
Absolutely.
Because this is such useful information. Also, let's go Mets.
Lifelong Let's go Mets.
Okay. The Luminary, check it out. I gotta familiarize myself with that network because we need a network.
Do it.
Okay, Kate,
thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. So wonderful to meet you.